So it is not the morning coffee thing because that thing is still on the. That has to be removed. This is ridiculous.
It might be in Sir Z's time.
It is for me.
That's technically true for Suzy, but it is the Thursday podcast. And just in case you weren't sure about it, there's a nice graphic to remind you. It is the Thursday podcast with the three handsome ones of the Baldies. But yes, that was a mega mix version of the song there. We might have to correct that in post if we do have a post. Just sending the heebie-jeebies up me for doing live television every day on the production side. That's why I don't like to direct. So it is ASTV Tinnipit, American Scouser TV Thursday night podcast with the handsomest, smartest and wisest gentleman. Basically the show that Liverpool Football Club transfer people seem to watch because everything we say comes true. Joined by Brian and Suzy tonight. How are we, boys?
Doing great.
Let us see what we're going to talk about tonight. We'll have a little bit of a plug for our podathon, which is happening on August 9th to the 10th, or August 7th for Suzy. We'll have a little bit of a soliloquy about Luis Diaz off the Bayern Munich. Bonjour, indeed. We'll talk about the preseason, what we've learned so far, both in the games, in terms of the tactics, and also in terms of the players that we've brought in and how they've done. And then we probably spend a good amount of time talking about the wishful thinking of Isak, Alexander Isak, his imminent arrival or non-arrival at Liverpool. We don't know what. A big hello to Tony in the studio. Should have been in the studio 5 minutes ago, Tony. You might have got me to press the right button for the opening credits. And Alan Walnut, as always, good to see you guys. So let us start with, as if you're watching intently, if you're of the mind to look for Trevor formerly of these parishes' plants in the background, Sir Z's background has a nice little reminder that the 24-hour podathon, the second annual 24-hour podathon from American Scouser TV, live from Carragher's this year. No people's bedrooms and bathtubs and whatnot. It is live from Carragher's in New York, I believe, benefiting the 23 Foundation, a fantastic cause. We want you to tune in. We want you to spread the word. If you are of the inclination to sponsor one of the hours, get in touch with us. We'd love to have that as well. And we also have an auction with some fantastic stuff. You can see the memorabilia there, signed shirts by the departed Luis Diaz, the canister, and of a glove from me. It's my glove that I use for changing my bicycle tires. It's good stuff. And then, because we're so popular and everything, we got a little message for this chap.
Another shout out after the shout out I gave them last year to the American Scouser, who are raising money for the 23 Foundation yet again. Thank you, big thanks for that. I think it's the 24-hour podathon again. So obviously went so well last year that you'd have another crack at it as well. So thanks a lot. Thanks for all your support. I'm sure it'll go well, and hopefully I'll be doing this video again next year. All the best.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? Jamie Carragher himself, he was looking at me the entire time, by the way, lads, just so you know, he was looking at me the entire time. And he also well into the spirit of the Thursday Night podcast, because he had something on the back of his wall as well that we can all talk about. I'm not going to show it again now. You all have to remember it or sign up to see more. So that is a fantastic cause. It was a grueling night for the three boys to do it last year, and those of us who did the overnights, for the overnight hours. I think it was me and you, Brian, wasn't it?
Yep.
I was, well, I don't sleep anyway, so it didn't matter to me. It was just like the wrong time. So Z will join in the week after. He'll get the product on the week after. But all for a good cause, so make sure you're tuning in. And if you like and subscribe on all the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagrams, and all of that, and on the Discord channel, you'll find out more about what's happening. But if you are watching and you are a member of a Liverpool Supporters Club, and you think your Liverpool Supporters Club may want to sponsor one of the hours and even be on the podathon itself, please get in touch with us. It would be a great night for those of us who get a bit of sleep. Not for the three boys, though. They're going to have to go through the whole thing leading up to, I believe, the Charity Shield. immediately afterwards. So we'll have a nice season preview before that. We did that last year. I'm not going to talk too much about that one. It wasn't as productive as we thought it would be. That was fantastic. So let us talk first about Luis Diaz, boys. He left a nice message as far as I can remember, but his wife or girlfriend, whatever, left an even nicer one. And that's not what we want. Look, there he is there. Look, happy times, big smile on his face, stupid sunglasses on his head, and the Premier League trophy in his arms. Suzy, he wasn't any generation's Kenny Dalglish or Ian Rush or Ray Houghton or John Barnes. But he did a good job when we needed him to do a good job. Streaky he may be, as Cosy would say, but he was instrumental in winning things under both Klopp and Slot, wasn't he?
Yeah, and the price was like 35 million was a no risk signing. It's a typical Michael Edwards. We waited for Tottenham to make that move. We waited for the bid to be accepted, and we jumped in. And obviously after that, there was only one choice for Diaz to go. I felt for him because he was kind of coming in on the back of Mane leaving, and you can't. It's like someone coming in after Salah leaves. Like it's you're not hiding to nothing. But he did well. He gave 100% every game. He might have been streaky, but that's not the fault. That's not through the fault of not trying. He left everything on that pitch. I never saw him without a smile on his face. Like you can tell he enjoyed the game. And if look at his background, just growing up in the streets of Colombia, he was written off completely just because of his build. I think he was like kind of really, really skinny. He was just written off by everyone, and he didn't really come into the fold until he was 18, and he kind of bulked up a bit. And you can tell the game means so much to him. Just obviously being from Colombia, we know what South America's like. We know what Colombia's like, and we saw the worst part of Colombia when his parents were kidnapped, and we stuck by him. We did right by him. He did right by us, and he's shown how you should leave a club. And I don't know if you go down as a legend, but I mean, he won every domestic trophy that he could win. He leaves with a Premier League trophy. He was close to Jota. You can tell that affected him. But yeah, he was a great signing for us. And I think more than anything, we'll miss his song. It's probably one of the best songs that I've definitely heard coming from Anfield. And it's good luck to him. It'll be sad to see him play for anyone else but us. But he, like I say, he goes with everyone's blessings. And good luck to him.
Brian, Tony in the studio says he was a good grafter that gave his all. But he also clearly had a bit of talent about him, but he seems to me he's almost in that Shaqiri kind of branch of signings. A good talented player, never let you down. Maybe didn't have that X factor to take him stratospheric at the club, but Liverpool have had plenty of players like that did a great job for us and were important to our success. Smeacher wasn't the most. He was a very talented player, but he wasn't the most robust of players. But we don't have number 5 without him scoring that goal. There's always a moment with these players. They don't let you down. They're not. You're never going to retire the jersey. But clubs don't succeed at these kind of players, do they? And he's definitely earned his crust in terms of being one of those players for Liverpool.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't. You can think about him on the left side of what he did, the amount of runs that he made, the people he drew in. I think that that the 3-4-3 right there that we have with him, he was as prolific as we had with Mane on that side right there. But you think of what he did in the same essence right there, which opened up Mo to go out there to just score the goals that he did. And when we needed to go out there and have when we had issues up front in the center, we put Diaz there. Diaz did actually go there and actually put in a job. I mean, so you can't do nothing but just applaud him for his professionalism and for what he's done with the club. And like Sir Z said, he won our domestic trophies. So, I mean, I think that he goes apart as with high plaudits. I mean, legend. I can't say he's a legend right there, but very high plaudits with him right there. And again, like you said, you have to have players right there who put in the work and put in the work rate. Smeeser, like you said right there, Shaqiri. I mean, you could even say Didi Hamann right there in that same time right there. You can go with, so many different Luis Garcia. So many players that that put in that job right there. That were never going to be the absolute best right there, but what they did well.
Good old Didi Hamann, the Scouse German with the weirdest accent ever. I just put the ball in the net like. No, he's from Newcastle apparently now. But this is we don't want to mention somebody's name. And Luis Diaz leaving, it wasn't on the cards, but it also wasn't not on the cards. There was, if we were looking at players at the end of last season that may be shipped out, he was one that we would mention, but also one that we'd be quite happy to keep for another season or two. But there's a lot more positivity around how he's leaving than somebody else who left. And it's a testament, do you think, to his personality and his gratitude to Liverpool, not just on the football side. It's not like he was going nowhere or anything like that, and we rescued him from the doldrums of Dagenham and Redbridge or something like that. But, he had a particularly tough time with his father being kidnapped, and we did what we could, what any club could, and probably a little bit more to make him feel, that this was that was the most important thing to deal with. Worry about the football when you get back, which he did. And his leaving, it was a genuine, it seemed like Suarez when he left, a genuine emotional, this club is etched into my heart forever kind of a thing. And we're going to see him back 10 years from now at Anfield for a big game with the kids, and they'll all be decked in red. And you'll look at it and you'll go, yeah, he got it. Do you think he's one of the players? He got it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And similar to obviously Jota and even personally, even Nunes. I think Nunes gets it. He might not get it on the pitch, but off the pitch, he gets it. And and it's just so weird how we've got these foreign players and these South Americans who they never dream of coming to Europe and playing for Liverpool. All they're thinking is Madrid and Barcelona. But they've come and I guess it's credit to Liverpool as a football club and our fan base. And until you actually play for Liverpool, I don't think these players know how the adoration that they get from a football club. And they can go to Barcelona and they can go to Madrid, but they're just like conveyor belts. You're only as good as your last game. But if us, you had a poor game last game, we're going to support you and we're going to try and pick you up for your next game. And we've seen that with Nunes. We know the fans do that, week in, week out at Anfield. We did that with Divock Origi. All we ask as fans that you try. And Diaz did. Like I said, 100%. He didn't always come off, and he ran into cul-de-sacs and so forth, but he tried. And and he was just one-dimensional. You got the ball and he just wanted to attack and and score. And he didn't have that same camaraderie with Robertson that Mane did. That was built over time. But it's you can't fault either one of them for trying. And ironically, Mane went to Bayern Munich, and now Diaz follows suit. And yeah, it's these foreigners have shown number 66 how to go, and not just him, even McManaman. He the same route. We got nothing for him, whereas Diaz, I think the writing was on the wall the day after the parade when him and his then girlfriend kind of put a goodbye message on social media. So I think they knew that they were going to go, but he never once down tools. he was all in it, and even after what happened to Jota, you can tell it affected them, and and it leaves a hole in their hearts as well. And we just kind of move on, and we move on in good shape. We've got players that can that are on par, or if not better than when he's left us, and and you can tell even at Bayern Munich, you see the training videos, and you can tell their players are really taken to him, and he's still smiling. I don't think that guy knows anything but to smile. He's just constantly just smiling, and you can see how much a game means to him, and it's great. And I just wish, and I guess it's not just about Scousers or our local players. I think it's just the English mentality of players. It's just completely different. And I think they take English fans or their own home club fans for granted. And the South American players is different. They come to Liverpool and they've been accepted, like Suarez and so forth. And and I think they ever think that they'll come to England and have that adoration, but they do, and it leaves a hole in the heart when they leave.
Susie, before I get back to Brian, I just kind of coincidentally was looking at the Liverpool 4-0 against Barcelona the other night, just reminiscing, as is my wont, on the few spare moments that I have per day. But I'd forgotten, because you don't think about it at the time with the emotion of it all, how much of a part Shaqiri played in that particular game. Do you think that this is going to be a thing, a good few years distance from now? We've had a bit of success or a lot of success. He's done well at Bayern Munich. We're going to look back at some of the games he played in and helped us win. And you're going to go, do you know what? He actually did a lot more than we thought.
Yeah, I think so. But then you miss players when you don't have them. And I think with the signings that we've made, definitely Wirtz, and we still also got Gakpo, and it's a real kid. I don't think, and it's not a slight on Diaz, but I don't think we're going to miss him as much as maybe we would have thought we were going to miss him without these signings, because this real kid looks the real deal. Obviously, we've got Gakpo, different type of left winger, and Wirtz can play on the left, and obviously, if you get Isaac and put Ekitike on the left, like I really don't think we missed Mane in a lot of games, and miss Mane. Like, I don't think we're going to miss Diaz in that sense. I just think we're going to miss Diaz more nostalgia than missing him for necessity.
Now, Brian, the thing about it is, regardless of what happens with Isak or, hopefully, or even Rio, I mean, is he 60? I don't think he's going to play much of a part in the first team other than like a subs appearance occasionally, because they're going to have to manage his body more than his maturity. But he is clearly a talent. But Diaz departing does solve a little bit of a problem for us, doesn't it? Because now if we do get Isak, we have Ekitike and Gakpo for that can play that side. We can have Ekitike who can play in the number 9 spot, and he can also cover for Salah as well. So it kind of helps us out a little bit in terms of that rotation. We're not really overburdened anymore. We're trying to figure out how to fit 2 genuine number 9s onto the team, are we?
I mean, it goes back what I've been saying for the past couple of weeks right there, that we really don't need wide players anymore. And I think that's what, because we already have one in the back between Frimpong and Kirkes right there of that are going to provide the width. You actually need more players to actually go a little bit more to the inside. And that's why I think that Ekitike and Salah are both going to be more inside right there, Vice is out on the wings of this new lineup. You kind of saw a hint of it a little bit like that against in some of the preseason right there, where with how the width was running right there, and I think that's where we're going to go with. So yeah, I mean, Diaz right there hugged the touchline the entire time, and I think that now Kirkes is going to take that spot of running of the touchline. When he eventually comes there and takes that starting position. I don't think that he's going to take the starting position right off the bat. I think that Robertson is probably still going to have the position. And so you may see the beginning a little bit of a formation kind of similar, but once Kirk has actually comes there and takes that position right there, I think that's when you'll start seeing a more inside, which I think that also suits Cody Gapka also right there because of how he plays in there. Which is a more of a central attacking midfield slash like more of a 10-ish type player, and I think that you're wind up having leaving Verts to actually be in a free role.
So in terms of how we react to players, like you spoke about, the foreign players who come over and get the adulation, and I think it's not just adulation because every club adores its players, but without wanting to sound too mawkish, Liverpool does have a reputation of supporting players even when they're going through bad times, except Darwin Núñez, every rule has an exception. But even still, like you see some clubs and they turn on their players. It's not just that they don't support them or they're a little less enthusiastic in their support for a player. They literally turn on them and it becomes an unmanageable situation mentally for them, and the position at a club becomes untenable. I don't recall Liverpool support having too many incidents like that. And when players come back to play against us, even if they leave in controversial circumstances like Fernando Torres did when he came back to play that charity game, the Legends game, he got a good reception, and that leaves a mark, doesn't it? It's not just the success, it's not just the football side of things. It's how the crowd at Anfield reacts to players. If they see you give your all, you're going to get a good bit of adulation, even if it doesn't always work out for you, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the only player I can remember, also since supporting Liverpool, is probably that I don't think will ever be welcome back. It's probably Diouf, and maybe closely followed by Konchesky. But I mean, that's more Konchesky's mom's fault than Konchesky. But as fans, all we do is ask. We just ask for 100%. Just give 100% on the pitch, and coming from obviously a working class city, and you look at these players, and they're playing out the fantasies and dreams of 55,000 people every week in, week out, and that's why when number 66 left the way he did, and that's why we took it so personal, because he lived every Scouser's dream, every Scouse kid's dream, and it was the way he handled it, the way he did it. It was just, it was uncalled for, and we won't go into that. We've moved on like tenfold since he left. But these South American players, and a lot of them they come from like poor backgrounds, and the only way out of drugs and gangs and whatever is to play football. And it's like I said, they only dream of Barcelona and Madrid because that's all they know. And it's not until they come to Liverpool and they see we have a different crowd to everyone else, and even opponents will say that, and there's there's a reason why someone from Egypt and someone from Holland extended as much as they have. We've taken them all, we've taken them on as ours. Their kids were born in Liverpool, and that's another thing. Their kids are Scousers, and it's you can say I'm wearing rose-tinted glasses, but just being a Liverpool fan, and just having your kids grow up in Liverpool with a different accent completely to yours, and it's a working class city, completely different to London. It's you just become part of the family, and and even with these foreigners that come over, they're not foreign anymore. They're adopted Scousers, and that's why players love playing for the club.
I'm just looking at the comments there. The guys in the comments are getting way ahead of us on the topic, so we're going to have to catch up with them at some point. But Brian, we don't want Luis Diaz to come back to Anfield and win a game, obviously, but it would be nice to see him back at some point, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Again, it goes like what Cersei was saying. There's only a couple of players right there who you don't ever want to see back right there. El Hadji Diouf is probably top of the list of everybody right there. I don't really care about Kuchelski. I think that whole era right there, I kind of wiped that whole era out of my head right there because of the actual disappointment and that I had right there when Roy was in charge. But yes, I think there's many players right there. I think that over time, right there, even the guy that just left us like a couple months or so ago, right there, maybe even he'll be welcome back. But but again, I think that I think that's the one thing we have right there with with most of our ex players is that we're willing to go out there and realize the sacrifices they made for the shirt right there on the pitch. So so we basically go out there and welcome and greet them back, applaud them, sing the songs that they for them, and even with when Suarez came back right there, and when he played for Barcelona in that match, it still was a little bit of an applaud right there that went to him because of what he did with us. You remember players and what they've done. So yeah, I think that Diaz would definitely be welcome back. Open arms, to say, hey, thank you for what you've done.
Just before we move on to the next one, I just want to say Luke Shaw is probably living my football dream. I was getting paid for getting fat, and who wouldn't want that? I certainly love it. So let's go on to the next thing. We talk about the preseason friendlies. Here's a nice moment there. Wataru Endo with the captain's armband. A nice little gesture for him there, and Slot singing his praises this week. But we've played Preston, we've played AC Milan, we've played Yokohama. Suzy, what are your thoughts so far on the preseason? The scorelines never matter at this point. There's traditions that say if you win all of your preseason games, you're in for a good season. Then there's some that say it doesn't really matter. It's what happens when you start the actual real football. But what you can definitely see is, number one, new signings bedding in, and number two, an idea of what the coach or manager is going to want to look for. Now, my vision of it is that we haven't seen anything tactically significant yet. We haven't seen anything that suggests he's going to play the same way as last season, but it looks like it's something that's being worked on in the preseason training ground. Maybe he's a traditionalist. Maybe he's doing all the fitness stuff now, and then the tactical stuff happens like a week or two before the season starts. But what is your impression so far of the mentality of the players, the new signings that have managed to get game time, and the old signings? Do they look ready for another season of battling for trophies?
It's a hard one. I think last year's preseason was much more important than this one. Obviously, because Klopp leaving, and just wanted to see how Slot was going to line up the players and what we're going to get out of them. And I think I'm the only one who actually took preseason seriously last year, which is why I made a prediction that we were going to win the league, because you can tell that the big thing that Slot came in and done was improve our defense. And and it's a cliche, goals win games, but defense will win your titles. And he just straight away, just shored up that defense. And that's when I knew that, okay, this guy's serious, and he's gonna make little tweaks here and there. He's got some of the best players in the world under him, and that's all we needed, just a tweak in defense, which Klopp refused to do, or Linda's refused to do, and to Slot's credit, it worked for him, and he earned his way into spending 300 million this season. This preseason, it just feels a lot different, and I think we obviously still have that Jota tragedy just kind of still looming there, and it just feels like it feels like a not a farewell concert that we're doing around the world, but it just feels like the games are more sentimental, and we're playing for the fans, and with everything that happened, the fans have even more. Whatever fans that we didn't have, we've gained a whole bunch of more fans because of the tragedy. And, they're turning up and, every 20 minutes or 20 minutes into the game, they're singing Jota's songs. We're having the pre-match tributes and so forth. And it just feels like there's a bit still that big sentimental feeling in the air more than a professional game like it was, or professional games like it was last preseason. I think the biggest thing that stands out that we definitely need defenders. We definitely need 2 centre backs because Gomez is just another Gomez, and we don't know how long he's out for. And with Kwanzaa leaving, we are definitely short. I think Konate stays for the season coming up. Whether he stays the following season or not, don't know. But we definitely need 2 centre backs for sure.
Brian, on that note, because we want to keep it with the preseason, not the games, but just the whole preseason thing. But it seems to me that Suzy is probably right. It's not a preseason that's being played for preparation. It's a preseason that's being played for the fans. But on the training ground, the work is being done, not necessarily being revealed, but it's being done. But on the transfer side of things, it is, as we've discussed before, it seems more methodical that they get the forward and attacking positions done and out of the way, because generally they cost the most money. That's been that way since the first time players accepted payment for playing. Those who put the goals in the back of the net or help those put the goals in the back of the net get more money than everybody else, or cost more money than everybody else. So it seems to me that we could panic and say we're not getting a central defender because we've had no sign of one, but they've shown us, I think, that they will do things on their own timeline, no matter what we think about it. And as long as there's minutes left in the transfer window, there's a potential for us to sign more players. And I believe I saw something from somebody on Twitter today who's one of those in-the-know journalist types, that Liverpool's business is not done. Even if we get Isaac wrapped up soon, or Isak, whatever way you say it. So in your opinion, do you think that it is a deliberate, methodical thing? We're playing the games for fitness more than anything else for the players, but we're also seeing like the young players, because the results don't really matter to Slot. He's trying to build what he wants to put on the field on minute 1 on the first actual game that's of competitive interest, which may not be the Charity Shield, because it's the Charity Shield. It's the Moyes Trophy. If David Moyes could claim that as one of his trophies in his career, then I think we're safe. We're safe to say it's not an important one in life.
I mean, I definitely think that that like you said, right there, they're playing players for fitness and to get the levels up right there. I mean, that's why you're seeing a lot more of like Lucas Stevenson and seeing these and Tyler Morton's been playing. I mean, players right there, that they're either shop windowing or they're actually going there and getting prepared right there either for loan movements or for to up their tempo, to go to stress out other players right there, to get their positions, to get them built up. But I think like the whole center back thing, we wouldn't have sold Kwanzaa if that wasn't if we weren't going to go in for another center back. I mean, that's just, that would be
that would look like the stupidest move on the
correct, absolutely, and that would not even come there and been a fathom idea if we didn't already know or identify targets that we think they're already made to go into that position. And and I think that's what's still going to happen, and let the guys come there and go to the point right there of what you said. Go through the whole process, be methodical, and get the good deals that you need to get. I mean, you have players right there who are over the last year of their contracts right there who are waiting to make that move. I mean, Crystal Palace ideally with Gui right there. I mean, that's one thing that I think is probably going to happen right there. I mean, eventually, because I mean, there's no point in he's not going to sign a new deal. But I do think that we still, in that same thing right there, not to get into transfer talk and stuff like that, but I do think that we're going to actually have to have 2 center backs in right now. I mean, that's almost a must. But I do think that the fitness side right there is definitely helping out, and also having Endo come there, go to Japan captain at the side. These are things right there. Again, fan lore. We see it when the U.S. when we have the U.S. tours right there, where we go there and actually go back to the supporters, pay the supporters back for being good, and it's also something for the players to not only go out there and go and do fitness on the pitch and background right there, but also to come there and go back to the communities that supported them. And I think that's almost important right there to spread the fan base.
So I don't know how much of the actual games you've seen, either through highlights or delayed watch or whatever. Wirtz is obviously impressed. Like, you could see exactly what we were paying for. His touches were fantastic. He scored a goal there against Yokohama. And again, it's hard to gel with a bunch of players that you're not going to play with in the season, like with the kids and stuff like that. And they've been very mixed teams, I think. Yeah. But let's talk about Wirtz. Let's talk about Frimpong, who I think he looks, if maybe not quite at Trent's level of accuracy for crosses, certainly close to it. Kirkes just looks like Andy Robertson from like the beginning, just constantly going at something. Yeah. The transfer that worries me so far from what we've seen is the goalkeeper. So that's my personal opinion. What do you think? What have you seen of those players? And Ekatike, he looks like once he figures it out, he'll be the player that we thought Nunes was going to be. That's my prediction on that. But what's your opinion on it?
I think Frimpong, yeah, definitely. I mean, he got a lot of assists last season albeit it was a German league, but I think he was very instrumental with Wirtz coming in, and that helps obviously them to, besties off the pitch and so forth. So that definitely helped Wirtz settle in, and I think that's the same with Kirkes and Szoboszlai, which that it always helps, and you see the camaraderie in the team with the team, and even being out in Tokyo and so forth, which I think is another great thing where a lot of these players haven't been to Tokyo or Hong Kong or whatever. So they're gelling together off the pitch, and you can see all the pictures that have been taken and all hang out with each other. And Virgil van Dijk's in the middle of that, which is great, being our captain. So for us as fans, it looks great. The team are getting on and off the pitch. I think definitely Marmalade. The goal that he let in last week, I think that was more to do with Costas than himself. And I think we've all said it. I know Brian thought that he probably wouldn't kick a ball for us, but I think he will. I think it's definitely staying. But his shot stopping, from definitely what I saw in the Euros, was second to none. I think when it comes to his ball control and on the feet, it leaves a little bit to desire, but I haven't really seen too much where the mistakes that he has made is generally because of the defender's fault. I think obviously Costas last week and the other day, I can't remember who let the Japanese striker go past him. But I don't think that was Marmalade's fault. So I think it's a little bit harsh to judge him on that. But you can tell that Slot was, from what I read, and obviously it wasn't. I didn't hear the interview, so I couldn't judge the tone. But it just seemed like Slot was a little bit annoyed that Alisson wasn't there. But obviously, said his private matters are more important than the football game and the preseason. But it's kind of telling that I think obviously Alisson is still a critical part to coming in next season, and Marmalade is probably got a little bit has a little way to go, and I don't think the confidence in him is as much as what we had with Kelleher.
I just want to point out, though, if you're ever in any doubt whatsoever about what Arne Slot's tone is in text, it's Dutch. That's his tone. His tone is Dutch. Yep. But having said that, I mean, a long time in the game at all positions, including washing the kit. Yes, I indeed had to do that because it saved us money instead of going to the laundrette or laundromat if you're American. But my opinion has always been, and probably because my dad was an excellent amateur goalkeeper and it was his opinion too, the goalkeeper's first job is to shot stop. That's it. It's not everything after that is gravy. However, the modern game demands that goalkeepers can play with their feet. Brian, you weren't sure about Mamardashvili. He looked very unsure of himself when the ball was at his feet. And the reason why I'm a bit worried is that he gave me very Simon Mignolet vibes in that sense. Because Mignolet was a good shot stopper, although he was kind of glued to his line a lot more than Mamardashvili was, or seemed to be so far. But that in the modern game, if you're nervous with the ball at your feet, it's really a red flag to the opposition, isn't it? To press you to death and then create the mistakes that are going to cost you goals.
I mean, it's all about distribution. I mean, and that's the big point with a modern goalkeeper. It's actually get on your feet, distribute the ball to move up to the pitch right there. And I think he's slow. I'm sorry, I just think that he's kind of like he's a gigantic. I mean, as far as like his size and stuff like that. I mean, what you need to be a great shot stopping goalkeeper. I still have my same concerns right there about him with his feet. I mean, I was not super impressed right there, with it. Of course, it's hard to judge things off of like off of preseason matches right there. But I mean, the same thing goes right there. I mean, I'd like to go look and see what Wookman can do also. At the same time, also the other keeper, the Hungarian keeper that we signed too, to see what they look like also. Because I mean, again, both of those, Wookman is probably right about the same age, probably roughly as Mamardashvili, and I think that and the other keeper right there, the Pesci, I think his name is basically he's 20 years old. So I mean, so he has room to grow in there. So I mean, I don't know. I just have my reservations right there, and I just know that this is going to be. I just have a feeling this is going to be Allison's last season with us. I just have that gut feeling right there that this is just the beginning of the entire transition that's going to happen right there. And I think that some of these players moving on right there, and I think that the next one that's going to go is going to be Allison. And I just don't know whether we're going to get the same type of results off of of what we were playing with. Maybe Slot has a different method of how he's going to move the ball. Maybe he's not going to use the distribution with the keepers that they have with the 4-3-3. I mean, it could be something different where your distributions can be more playing out toward the wides, toward the width and moving in. I mean, so there's different ways that could be handled. Maybe he needs that shot keeper to be there to actually open up to make those runs with Frimpong and Kirkes right there, so you actually have a strong person behind there. But I mean, as far as like if we want to go back to what the 4-3-3s that we played over the past 9 years now, 10 years, I just don't see that Mamardashvili fits that type of role, a goalkeeper for that type of formation.
Before I go to Suzanne to ask me the question, I just want to point out Tony in the studio. This is the grown-up show, We don't do those little puns. We're the middle-aged men. What are you doing? That was a good joke from Tony in the studio. Those nicknames are now going to stick. I hope you know that. You're responsible for that now, Tony. So here's my question to you, Suzanne. Arne Slot's a Dutch coach. You went through the Dutch coach education licensing system. They are big on 4v4 on the field, that kind of Dutch diamond that you see in the 4-3-3 and in the 3-4-3 as well, the famous Cruyff Van Gaal diamond midfield as an example of it. But one of the things that they emphasize is if you can get the ball from the goalkeeper to the forward in one pass, what are you doing anything else? If that pass is available in every single attack, you're a fool to do anything else. Is it possible that Brian is right and that Slot is actually thinking, I don't need my goalkeeper to be the best, one of the best possessors of the ball. I don't want the ball around my back four or back five or whatever for 80% of the game. I want to up where the forwards are, causing damage to the opposition's defense, and that's why we're buying so many attack-minded creative players, players that can create their own goals in their own space. Is it possible that we're going to see a new evolution with Arne Slot, which I wouldn't be surprised at, because he seems to think very, very highly or deeply about the game, that the goalkeeper is going to maybe slightly return back to being a traditional goalkeeper under Slot, and Mamardashvili actually fits into that mold quite well. What do you think?
I don't know, because I don't think I don't think Marmalade was Slot's purchase, much the same as Chiesa was. Wasn't Slot's purchase, and I think it was just kind of like just thrown onto him, and for a while I did believe Brian's narrative that I don't think Marmalade was going to kick a ball for Liverpool, but I think the way things are looking, he probably will, and all depending on Alisson, who is not the most reliable when it comes to injuries, that Marmalade might get more games than what we might hope. I think what we've seen so far from pre-season, and I was just watching Ekatika's interview before we came on, and they asked him, what was the first word that Slot said to you, and he said pressure. And I think pretty much how we were playing in the 80s, we're going to defend from attack. We said Ian Rush is probably one of our best defenders because we defended from attack. And then you look at the type of players we have between Salah, Wirtz, Ekatike, Gakpo. You bring in Isaac into that, and that's 3 or 4 defenders up front. Just pressuring, getting the ball, and pretty much what we did with Mane, Bobby, and Salah under Klopp. I don't think we're going to play as many long balls as what we did when we did with Klopp. And I think it's going to be very, very possession based. And if we remember what Slot would say in his interviews last season, even before he joined us, or he took his first pre-season with us, he loved Pep's game and he loved Klopp's game, and I think he's tried to mesh the two together, and he worked out for us, and you can tell he has a big admiration for Pep. If you look back at his past interviews, and that's how I think he wants to play. I think he wants to pass the game out and just kill the game off completely, and just through pure possession rather than the heavy metal football. I think we've got the players that could play that, but he'd rather take a 1-0 or 2-0 win than take a 5-4 win.
Now, having said that, though, Susie, I do know that there was a lot of tactical studies of the tiki-taka game in technical reports and all that, and Pep's Barcelona played a surprising amount of long balls, but they weren't aimless ones. They were long balls into particular players to set up triggers for things. And Spain, I think, played the most long balls in the 2008. What was 2008? Was the European Championships, or was it a World Cup year? It was the European Championships year, wasn't it? Yeah. They played the most long ball, accurate long balls. Now, to be fair, they weren't the Jack Charlton type, But the point I was going to make was Rinus Michels, the famous Dutch coach of the century by FIFA, had a great tactical book called Team Building, and he was talking about why the Dutch play the pressure game, and he was talking about, they didn't have the biggest pool of players, so they had to make sure that the team could, had to be tested. And the team he emphasized as the best team for pressure was the Republic of Ireland under Jack Charlton. What a man, a saint of man he was. My question is, though, my thought is that we're not going to play the long ball game. We've seen Arne Slot likes to control the possession a lot, kind of like Rafa Benitez did, a little bit less defensive, but still the same idea of controlling the game through territory and the ball. But under Slot, we did play a hell of a lot of long passes from Alisson up to Salah. We're probably not going to see as many as those, but is it possible that you're probably correct that Mamardashvili is not his player, but he seems to be a manager who adapts to what he has, and if he's looking at him like that, and what he can do and what he can't do, he's probably saying, well, he might be a goalkeeper that gets us up the field to press from the front a lot more than if we're trying to play through a lot of teams. Is it possible that Slot is adaptable like that, and he's not gonna turn his nose up at Mamardashvili's like weaknesses, but he's going to use them in the way he seems to just change things and adapt things so that it's an Arnie Slot tactic? That was a very long question, so I'm really sorry about that. But there's a background to it. There's a Dutch way of thinking which is so different to every other soccer culture's way of thinking. It's fascinating that we probably have maybe the best Dutch coach right now.
Yeah.
That's the. What do you think of that? Because I just think he's capable of surprising us.
Maybe, but then we have Frimpong and Kirkers on the wings, and we bought them for a reason, which was to get the ball and run up and down, or run into the opposing half. I mean, we've probably got the best technical midfielder in the Premier League in Macka, now and Wirtz. So I don't see us bypassing them through long balls or over the top balls like how we used to do with Allison to Salah. I think we're going to get a lot of goals, but I think we're going to. It's going to be more possession based, and we're going to bore the opposition out just by keeping the ball.
But just like if you're going to have because you're the one that mentioned that we're going to defend from the front and right. Press, but in order to press, the other team has to have the ball. And if we're keeping it for 90% of the game, they're never going to have the ball, and we just end up. That's what the problem Brendan Rodgers had, was that he never understood that you can't pressure the ball if you have it. So there has to be a point at which we.
Well, I think
team has the ball
with Klopp, and I remember 66 saying this in an interview once. One of Klopp's tactics was to give the opposition the ball. You can pressure them off it. I think we're going to play so many different ways within game, and definitely our Achilles heel has always been the low block, as Nottingham Forest have shown, and we didn't beat them last season, and they had Slot's number, and I think Slot's probably lost sleep over it. I think with the type of players we have and the intelligence of the players that we have, that we can play so many different types of formation and tactics within game, that we're not going to have that Achilles heel. With Marmalade, it's just so hard. I don't have enough. I don't have enough video evidence to say one way or the other. All I know, in terms of his strengths, shot stopping, he looks amazing. Whether he can play with his feet and play from the back, or whether his passing's good, I haven't really seen enough of him. But then he has the best centre back in the world in front of him, and as great as Alisson is, and as great of a goalkeeper that he is, I think Virgil made him a better keeper as well, and vice versa. But Virgil just makes everyone better in front of him, and when Kelleher, best number 2 in the world because he had Virgil in front of him, and the confidence that Virgil gives to anyone around him, including the goalkeeper. It's great if we are going to transition from Madison to Marmalade. It's great that we have someone like Virgil in front of him.
Now, Brian. Oh, sorry. If you had a point to add to that, add to it. I want to ask you this question after what you want to say. Is actually, no, go. Yeah, well, mine is. Well, I'm going to the other end of the field. You say your thing. I'm going to the other end of the field after that.
So I can see two different triangles with triangles mixed in right here on that, which for ball distribution. You have Kirkes, you have Wirtz, and you have Ikitake on one side / Cody on one side. On this side right there, you have Frimpong, Bradley, Wirtz, and then Mo Salah on the other side. So you have so many different formations, and you can actually drop back and whoever's going to be playing that number 9 to go fill another triangle right there. You're going to have between Mo and Kataki and that other forward. It's just the possibilities are endless with this midfield right now, especially with the tacticians that you have. So I mean, it's going to be a hard thing for somebody to actually figure out where the ball is going to go in this mix. But I do think the point that Kasi and Kinther did bring up over the past couple of weeks, I think on the attack right there, you are going to see that holding midfielder, that number 6 drop back down as a back 3 to support that keeper. And I think that's a definite thing that's going to wind up happening. Either whether it be Gravenberch, McAllister, Slavasai, if he can conform that position to go back, drop in, and support the defense right there while we're on attack. And I think it's a very more of a 3-5-3 or a 3-5-2-1 kind of like formation where you're actually bringing more distribution up toward the front, which kind of goes with what Sir Z was saying. It's a defense by attack. Because you're still going to go there, be on the attack the entire time while you're creating pressure.
I just want to point out that if our formations are going to be 3-5-3 and 3-5-2-1, then Slot's idea is to put an extra player on the field.
Yeah, my numbers. Sometimes my brain goes ahead of my numbers.
Here's what I want to ask you: is Suze talks about, having trouble with those low blocks, and what excites me about the Wirtz signing, and what we've seen a little bit of during the preseason minutes that we've seen him in. His touch is fantastic. I'm already looking at him and thinking of I'm reminded of Dalglish and Peter Beardsley. Just like he can open up a back four with a little touch that you don't expect. Do you think that is going to be one of the keys? Because I'm looking at it and I'm looking at Salah, the way he makes darting runs off the shoulders of the defenders, and he's probably going to love playing with that against the low blocks. But what say you?
So, I mean, Wirtz is going to be in a free roll. I mean, he has to be in a free roll. You don't pay this type of money right there for number 10 to have him come there and subjected to being set into a position. And I think that if you're having him on the line of whoever's going to be the number 9, whether Isak or whoever it's going to be on there, Ikitaki / Cody on one side, Mo on the other. I mean, you're basically going to disseminate decimate that low block. Plus, also throw a McAllister into a mix right there. I mean, it's a lot of creativity and a lot of players right there who can actually go and actually work through defenses. And I think, again, like I said before, those double triangles that you have on those sides right there are going to draw players into it, which is going to be able to open up that defense.
Suze, in terms of the two fullbacks, you mentioned their importance in carrying the ball forward. Frimpong, as I said, he looks like he has a very accurate cross. Not enough data at Liverpool, at least, to see if he's as accurate as Trent was or as creative with his crosses, but he certainly can put the ball where he wants it to go. But Kerkez just looks like a busy bee, doesn't he? I've seen him run up the field and then be the man tackling the ball as it's going towards the box at the other end. And that's something that Andy Robertson has kind of lost a little bit, but that he was so good at when we first got him. Do you think Kerkez may be the surprise package out of all the transfers that we've had? Frimpong kind of had a big hullabaloo about him. Kerkez was almost done quietly, but he might be the ace in the hole, really, do you think?
I think vice versa, too. And so I think we kind of knew what we were getting with Kerkez because it's Premier League tried and tested. I think the drop-off from peak Robertson to Kerkez isn't that big. It's not as big as peak Robertson to Costas, but for sure. I think it was 6-6 as much as the trap that we give him. Obviously, his crosses overcompensated for his defensive skills. But what I like about Frimpong is he's a different type of fullback. I don't know we have enough valid data on him as a defender because of the league that he played in. But definitely attacking-wise, he reminds me of Roberto Carlos in a lot of ways. He's just so fast and he's just like a little dynamo and it's just short and he's just so attack-minded. And I can see why we got him, especially with Salah going to AFCON, where he could actually sub in for Salah, and then obviously we've got Bradley. We can't forget about him as our right back, and it's just such a conundrum of where we're going to fit all these players in. And obviously, I'd rather be in this position.
Just have Brian pick the team. He's going to put 14 players on the field, apparently.
Yes, I mean, it's a great position to be in as fans, and I'm glad I'm not the manager. And starts getting millions a year to make these decisions. It's going to be a hard decision, like trying to choose between Bradley and Frimpong. I think it's going to be horses for courses in that sense. Obviously, if Bradley plays, then it's going to be a different system. I don't think Bradley can play in a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 or 3-10-12, but it's it's just interesting. I think Frimpong's the one is going to be the most interesting, and obviously with all the transfers that have happened since he signed, his transfer's gone under the rug a lot. But I think he's the one that's going to be the most surprising or the most impactful in terms of what we're going to see out of him.
And then just to kind of wrap up the pre-season talk, Brian, we play Athletic Club twice in one day. I'm assuming he's going to play 2 strength teams. I want to say full strength, obviously, because that's not going to work, but it's not going to be a mishmash of players with subs at half-time. This seems like it's going to be designed to have 90 minutes for each 11 plus subs. Do you think we'll see a little bit more of what we're going to expect coming into the league with these 2 games, or do you think they will yet again be just games for fitness?
No, I think you're going to see a little bit more of formations. I think that really the second match is the one to really watch. I mean, kind of what happened last time when we actually had that same thing where we did the double fixture with it. I mean, yeah, those were only I think they weren't even full matches. I think they were 2 30-minute matches. I think we did last year. I think what it was. But if we're going to go there and do the same thing, I think that you're going to see more or less on the second match is probably going to be more who you expect to probably want it playing in the Charity Shield, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I think that again, just to go off of what Sir Z points were on that earlier right there, I think that Frimpong right there is bought because he's he's a multi-asset. Where I think that the whole, like he said right there, I think that Mo Salah right there, when he goes to AFCOM, I think Frimpong will do that. The only difference I have right now is that Ekataki can go play on both sides right there. So that kind of changes some things with it, which opens up with Cody where Cody can play. But yeah, I think the next match right there, I think you're going to see 2 different strong sides, I think. But I would expect right there in that second match to be your stronger of the 2 to get that last look before you get to Palace.
Suzy, what do you think? Is there? I'm just looking at the Liverpool website. It only has 1 game down for tickets. So do you think Brian is right? It's going to be a bit not half-assed, obviously, but it's not really for the fans. These 2 games.
I think what we're going to see is the 3-4-3 and then your 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 in one of the games. I don't think obviously Bradley and Frimpong will be playing in the same team. And I think more than ever, and I've been saying this since last season, it's not about your first 11. It's your first 15. And I think whoever ends the game is just as important as whoever starts the game. And we're going to be able to change the formation at least 2-3 times within the 90 minutes. And that gives us, we can start off with a 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 and finish on a 4-3-3, 4-4-2 because we have someone like Bradley and Frimpong both in the fullback roles. Obviously, the Dutch typically are used to playing a 3-4 or a 3 in the back anyway, and so it's no coincidence. Obviously, we've got Virgil back there. I think Gravenberch can drop back when the 2 fullbacks go up front. Another system that Gakpo is used to as well. And which is surprising that we didn't go for Hato. I think Hato would have been an ideal centre-back, even a project centre-back, because he's used to the Dutch system. And then, we've got the intelligence of Macka and Wirtz that I think can probably play in any system. I think Wirtz played in a 3-5-2 with Leverkusen as well. So it'll be interesting. And obviously, you got Szoboszlai who can fall back. I think we've seen during the preseason that Szoboszlai has been playing that Henderson role for the last two 2 games in preseason as well. So, yeah, I just think we're going to play 2 strong teams in both games, but different formations, and just to see, just to try them out.
Brian, what do you think in terms of? I think Sazi is right in terms of the changing of formations, but do you think it might be a case of letting the new players know, I'm Arne Slot and this is what I do, so let's get used to it now?
He's Dutch, right? I mean, that isn't that what the Dutch do? Yeah, I think that definitely is. He's going to put his stamp on it right there and say, hey, this is where it is. And I think more or less that it's kind of like you say, you're looking for what your bench is going to be and what your starter is going to be all in one combination. So the players that you see play within these 2 matches right there, it's probably going to be pretty much a decider of who's going to wind up being there. I would not be surprised if you didn't see a couple players play both matches. I would not be surprised right there, just so you can get a look and see how they go with each one right there. I mean, honestly, I don't think that you're going to see Frimpong and Bradley playing the same match. I honestly don't think you're going to see I think your 2 right and left backs are going to be similar. But I would not be surprised if you didn't see Ikitaki play twice, once in one position, once up top. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see Mo come there and play like one and then play part of one. It's going to be a whole bunch of different things like that going at. I think that Verts right there probably only going to play one, but you may see also having Slabazai come there playing that free role that Verts is playing in, just so you can actually get a look and see what your options are. But I mean, I think that it's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, to see what he's going to make about this right there. I mean. And if Isak comes before then it could be a whole bunch of different other plans in the mix of this.
And that's a nice opportunity to segue into talking about that lad there, Isak there in his Real Sociedad top, but he's apparently training with them now. So, Suzy, is it possible we will see the aforementioned striker putting pen to paper before the friendly on Monday, or it being done and announced on Monday, or do you think this one is going to go to the wire?
I don't think it goes to the wire. I thought it'd be done already. And I'm not, but I was obviously wrong. I don't see there's any tenable way for him to go back to Newcastle. It's he's really burning his bridges with them, and I think Liverpool are his only way out. And I think Newcastle have to kind of force to sell him to us because he only wants to come to us. He doesn't want to go to Saudi. He's prepared to turn his back on.
Definitely doesn't want to go to Everton.
Yep. So that being the case, who else is going to take him? It's Arsenal can't go for him. And regardless of it, doesn't matter who wants to come. He's made it clear that he wants to come to Liverpool. Do I like the way he's done it? No. Fearful that he could do it to us. But then Virgil van Dijk did the same to Southampton. Obviously not to this extent, but he kind of went on strike, and look what happened. So we're just in the age of player power, really. And the best thing about this, what I like, is Newcastle are the richest club in the world, and they can't even keep hold of the best players. And that's the most ironic thing about it, and the best thing about it, that obviously as a Liverpool fan, and including all the romanticism and everything else, that we still have that draw. And so Man United, they still have that draw. Hence why they're getting players ahead of Newcastle. It doesn't matter how much money they have. There's still that legacy draw. There's still that big club draw. And Newcastle, and like I said on Discord, they know they just know their place on the food chain. And unfortunately for them, they can't break their way in like Man City and Chelsea did, because there was not PSR when they did it. There's PSR now, and Newcastle, they've got keys to the Ferrari, but they still don't have the Ferrari.
I mean, to be fair though, it is Newcastle. Oh, hey man, it's bloody freezing like. So that's probably what does them in. But Brian, we are in the era of player power, and it is a concern that he may do the same thing to us But at the same time, do you think the kind of contrast between how Trent Alexander-Arnold left and how Luis Diaz left, and the different kind of media attention around it, the different message that has been communicated, Luis Diaz did it the right way, full of positive messages, love Liverpool, had great times there, you will always be there in my heart, might kind of sell to Isak, although it sounds like he's already agreed everything he needs to agree with Liverpool Football Club. But that he knows that if he does right by Liverpool, Liverpool will do right by him when it comes time.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, even with Isak with Newcastle one of the biggest things he said was club ambition. If you're unable to sign players right there above Manchester United, where's your ambition? I'm sorry, right there. I mean, how many players? I mean, so Alanga is like your main key buy that you've had so far. A rejected a Manchester United player that went to Forest and came over there. I mean, if that's what your ambition is, I mean, even right now they're saying right there what's really big holding up right there is that Sesko's unwilling to go to Newcastle. So I mean, which is the other player they want. So they've gone through all these players right there to try to move through there. If you're a star player and you want to win, and you want to win trophies, you want to go there win somewhere, you want to win the league right there. You're not winning the league with Newcastle. I'm sorry, you're not doing it right there. You're not when they're unable to come there to buy players. I mean, to reinforce. Bruno, I mean, there's people there. Obviously, yes, are great. I mean, I think Joel Lenton is a fantastic player. I think that Bruno Guimaraes is a fantastic player. I mean, but you take Isak out of there, that's a toothless squad. I mean, even now without having reinforcements, it's a toothless squad. So, but I think again, right there, when you go back to us, right there, it goes back to what we said prior to right there in the beginning part of the show. What we do to prior players, and and how we see them in our eyes, and how we treat them when they come across. There aren't boos, there aren't any like jeers and stuff like that. For most players, except for like obviously like El Hadji Diouf, but we can go with that how we want to go with that. But Wellesley, right there, you go to a big club to win, and I mean, and we're in that path right there to win. Klopp set a foundation, Slot moved it to the next progression. So, I mean, if I was a player right there and I had high ambitions, and I wanted to go to a club that I knew that had ultimate chance to win the Champions League, ultimate chance to win the league again, to win cups, I'm coming to this club. I'm coming here.
Susie, just to wrap it up on Isak then, do you think that it gets done and announced at the same time a defender gets announced?
No, I think...
and I say that just bear in mind that, we had this debate about the contract. They had it signed and they just weren't announcing it because they wanted to do it this night and such. Sometimes it seems like they like the emotional, the feels, the pops, as they say in wrestling, for doing announcements at certain times. But do you think it's just when it gets done, it's going to get announced, and then everything else after that is its own thing? Or do you think they'll go for the drama of, hey, look, we've got Isak and 2 defenders?
No, I mean, even with the contract extensions, as much as we love Virgil and Salah and they love the club, they have egos, and there's no way they were going to share the same limelight on the same week as extending the contracts and being announced at the same time. Isak it's a huge deal, and it's going to be our biggest deal, and and it's funny because you just forget that we signed Wirtz. Versus, but the biggest signing, in club's history, and now, we signed Isak, and Wirtz is like, that deal's almost like pushed under the rug, and I think it'll be unfair to do that to any other player, to have them share the limelight of Isak. So I think Isak gets done first, and then whatever defender we sign afterwards, we'll sign, and obviously we try and make it a big deal. I feel for Ikatike more than anything else, because again, another big signing, 75 mil or whatever we spent on him, same amount as what we spent on Nunes, and he's only going to have the limelight for maybe another week or 2 max, and before Isak comes in and takes his limelight away. And but it's the joys of being a Liverpool fan right now. I never thought I'd see this, and you think Wirtz just seems like it's it's a signing that was made like 2 seasons ago, but it wasn't. It was only a few weeks ago. But yeah, it's great. I think he's like I say, it's going to be a big deal. I think it probably happens once Adidas takes over officially tonight. I think Isak gets done in the next couple of days.
Just before we start wrapping up the extra show, just from Mustafa, the way it goes is if we say it here on the Thursday podcast, it happens. The transfer guys are listening to us every week. Everything we say happens for some reason. I don't know. And I will say before we close everything up is that Joe Linton is the best player named after Wuthering Heights character I've ever come across. I'll say that much, man. So with that said, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Sir Z, for your time tonight. As always, there, I believe, is a morning coffee tomorrow morning on Friday, unless I've been misinformed. And then, once again, make sure you are, if you have the ability to help us with the Podathon, August 9th to 10th, an overnight thing, 12 p.m. to 12 p.m. the next day, Central Time, or last week for Suzy. Everything will benefit the 23 Foundation. Nothing comes to Liverpool or to American Scouser TV at all. Auctions, hopefully guest appearances from Liverpool supporters clubs around the country or even beyond the American shores. If you think you can sponsor an hour and you would like to do that, get in touch with us. And the best way to do that is to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, formerly known as X. You should change the name of that back to Twitter because nobody calls it X. Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and also the Discord, which is where all the craziness happens. Thank you to all the boys there who were, and possibly girls, who were commenting on the comments there, especially on YouTube. A little bit of banter, but it was all grown up and in good spirit, and that's what we want to see. For everybody else, hopefully we'll have a good time on Monday, and then we start to get ready for the real start to the football, and who knows what it's going to look like. All I know is Arne Slot is a crazy Dutch bastard, and it's going to be fun one way or the other. So have a good one. Peace out, everybody. Here comes the funky music. Be safe on the roads.